Eliot Shor-Parks here, straight from the NovaCare facility where the Eagles continue OTAs, and you were allowed to watch practice again today.
What's up?
So, Eliot, what'd you see? Headlines.
Man, so much to talk about. I mean, the Vic Fangio presser, we could probably do the entire segment on that.
Yeah.
So there's that, then there's practice.
Give me practice first, and then we have some Vic Fangio cuts.
Yeah, I mean,
up.
I think the main takeaway from practice was how good Jalen looked. Jalen was 15 of 17. He had his best throw so far of the two practices I've seen. He hit Dallas Goedert down the left sideline. The coverage was really good. He just put it in like a bucket over Goddard's shoulder. And I would say this watching Jalen.
Was it a little underthrown? Or?
No, it was perfect.
Okay.
It was perfectly thrown. Just like the dagger. Perfectly thrown.
Yeah.
Having watched all of Jalen's practices since he was drafted back in 2020, you can really see in practice the difference in him now as a quarterback versus obviously as a rookie. Like he just plays the position so much better even now than he did probably 2 years ago. 2 years ago in practice, I remember talking on air with you guys about it. Like he would hold on to the ball so much. There would be so many 7-on-7 reps where he would hold on to the ball. And in 7-on-7, the ball should never be held like that. And it was happening 4 or 5 times a practice. Now, he barely ever holds the ball. And you can just see, like, I mean, I have him down as, I think, 35 of 38 in these two practices. If there's nothing there, he is dumping the ball down, getting rid of it. And that just wasn't happening. I remember as a rookie, like, players laughing at him during the drill, being like, throw the ball. And obviously, that's a rookie. He's a far way away from that now. But you can just see how much better he is at playing the position of quarterback now than he was, again, like 2 years ago even.
So without, I don't want to turn this into a Jalen argument yet. So the question I would have is, last year, the holding on to the ball thing still happened, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, which is why he got sacked so much, which is why against the blitz, he wasn't turning the ball over, but he's also getting sacked a lot. He wasn't. So I guess the question is, I don't know if any of us can have this, how does he take that evolution in practice to the games, right? Like, how does he get, and he's clearly, I would hope he'd be a better quarterback today than he would when he was a rookie, but that part of it, I don't think that has necessarily gone from practice to the game.
I think part of the reason it's different in practice versus a game is in a practice, he can't really run. Like in a game, you can run. You know, like when you're doing 7-on-7, you're holding onto the ball to the last possible second, then you're running. And you're not even really running. The play's basically dead. I think in a game, Jalen prefers to run instead of dump it down to a check down. He's never really been a check down quarterback in the NFL. And I think that's because he knows he can run with the ball. So I think that's the difference between practice and a game. Now, in a game, I agree, he needs to do a better job. He can get a bit trigger shy, in my opinion. Like, I think that's the issue with the passing game. I don't think the issue with the passing game is his accuracy, like any of that. I think he just gets trigger shy sometimes, and that's where he holds onto the ball.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah, and it's every situation has its own sort of identity. What I mean by that is sometimes he can take a sack, and I would prefer he take a sack than force the ball somewhere where it shouldn't go, and it leads to a turnover.
Yeah, right.
You take a sack, then you got to punt the ball. You don't flip the field position from the standpoint of giving them the ball on your side of the 50 with a chance to score. You live to fight another day, for lack of a better way of trying to explain it. And then there are some times where you can't take a sack. You got to get rid of the doggone ball. You got to throw it away, right? Because you may take yourself out of field goal range, right, by holding on to the ball and taking a sack, and now you got to punt it. So each situation is different, but I like the fact that he is seemingly getting better with it. And, I mean, you know this, or you would know better than us because you're out there watching. I'm wondering how comfortable he looks back there from your description of him being out there. He seems to be comfortable.
I think he looks really comfortable
in the offense.
Yeah.
So I like that whatever they're doing, they're giving him some things that he's comfortable with. Maybe he has input on the stuff that's going in the passing game. Does it seem like he and Kevin Petrullo's little working relationship looks good?
Last year at OTAs, he did not have a good couple of days of practice. Okay. He had interceptions, and that was when they were installing the Kellen Moore part of the offense. So he definitely looks, I could look it up, his numbers from last OTAs, but like he definitely looks way more comfortable in my opinion. Okay. I mean, he really just sits back there and just like picks them apart. And it's not 15-yard throws, 20-yard throws. The one to Goddard was probably 30-plus yards. A lot of them, he took a little more chances today, I would say. It wasn't just all checkdowns. But when he's the last 2 days of practice, or the 2 days I've gotten to watch, he really does just sit back there and just dumps it off. He's just distributing the ball.
Yeah.
So I guess my question also would be, there was a big conversation during OTAs last year about how much of the offense was new in relation to some of his struggles, and from 75% to
What did he 15. Say? Did he say 99?
He said a high number, and then my dad was like, no, it's actually 5%. Right. Whatever it is I wonder how much they're actually doing new last year, this year, and how much they're working on installing that now, or maybe they're doing like a slow version of that. My question would be, how much new are they actually doing?
So it's hard to tell, I'll say, in the two practices I've seen. Because A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are not practicing. A.J. was there today, but he didn't do a team. Devontae, I don't believe, was there, and he wasn't there the last time we were there either. So he's been playing with all backup receivers. He has Dallas Goedert out there, and Saquon does a few teams, but he's mostly playing with backups. So to my eye of watching it, it looks like it did last year, like short throws, like high percentage throws. But it's only 2 days, and it's also tough to tell how much they're going to install when you have like Anaya Smith, Terrace Marshall Jr. Like when those are your receivers, I don't know how much of the new stuff you could do, but I guess it's all new to them.
So we'll get to your next observation, but I want to sort of sprinkle in some of this Fangio stuff because he said a lot of interesting things. Yeah. We were talking to Jeremiah Trotter yesterday about Jalen Carter, and one of the things that Trotter said was that the amazing thing about Jalen Carter is he doesn't even know how to play the position yet, and he's this good. He was asked, did you ask him about this?
David Uram.
There he is.
Fought through. Yeah, Uram crushed it, yeah.
Going for Insider of the Year. David Uram asked him about that comment. Here's what Vic Fangio had to say.
Jeremiah Trotter Sr. said on WIP yesterday that he's been hearing from some folks that Jalen doesn't even know how to play the position yet. It was in a complimentary fashion, in a sense, to say that he doesn't even know how to play the position yet. Sky's the limit. What's your thoughts on that?
I agree with the point he's trying to make. I do think Jalen. The good news about Jalen is twofold. One, he played very well for us last year, and two, he can still improve a lot.
It is. And we also asked, we were talking to Javon Curse about the Eagles, and we asked him, what is the thing that you noticed watching him? And he's like, I wish I could play on that defense with Jalen Carter. Yeah. He said, I would get so many sacks if I was playing next to Jalen Carter. And it means a lot to hear a guy like Javon Curse, who would be playing on defensive line, notice that is such a key to the edge success.
Well, I also thought it was very noteworthy. Jeremiah Trotter said this, and he said people in the building, I'm not, like, obviously he has a connection to the building in a lot of ways, right? So I believe him when people in the building are saying that. And yeah, I mean, if they think Jalen Carter, I think it's natural when you're only 2 years in the league, you're not going to be doing like little veteran things, to be better. Sure. Like right now he's winning with his athleticism. So yeah, if he once he starts to play more and get used to how teams are playing him and learns little veteran things, he'll definitely be better.
It reminded me of Mahomes when Andy said that he doesn't even know the or how to read defenses yet.
Yeah.
That was after his
first year. Second year. Yeah, it was after his second year. Yeah, even Mahomes, I think, said after his second or third year. He was like, I'm just really learning how to pick up blitzes and things of that nature. So, this is one of those situations where, Jeremiah Trotter watches a lot of football with his son. And when you're a linebacker and you're watching linebacker play, you start with the box. Yeah. So you're watching everything in front of you. You're watching offensive line block schemes. You're watching how your defensive line is playing those blocks, and you can't help but see 98 in the middle of his defense and watching what he's doing. So you watch this kid and you realize a lot of it is just raw ability.
And if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Because to your point, when Trotter's watching, like he's reacting to a certain degree off of Jalen Carter. So when they watch and he's expecting one thing and Jalen does another, that's probably where this comes from, that he doesn't fully know what he's doing.
Right. Yet. He's probably looking at it and he's saying, that's it. That's instinctual. When he gets – now, there are some plays that – because I think back to the game against Washington when Jalen was on the line of scrimmage and it was on mic'd up, I believe. He pointed out that the guard was sitting light in his stance, and so he was getting ready to pull. And he caused the fumble in the backfield. off of that play. So some of the things he does see, and he has good football instincts and intellect there, but no young player, or it's rare young players, fully grasp the technical side of playing positions. We all come in, and it's all of our athleticism. It's when you learn how to defeat blocks. It's when you learn how to have a counter move to a block, when they're going to run a passing play and how they try to set you up for a double team. These are all the things that Jalen Carter, the more he plays, he's just going to become it's going to become more difficult to defend.
Especially because, let's take Nakobe, right? Both went to Georgia. Nakobe didn't get drafted because of his athleticism. Nakobe got drafted because he, in college, had to be the smartest player.
Yep.
Jalen Carter has never had to be the smartest player on the defense because even in high school and then obviously at Georgia, he could just push guys over. He was so much better than them. And even at Georgia, there was reports about him not being a good practice player.
Sure.
So I think, take this a step further, to back to Vic Fangio. I think another benefit of having Vic is just having someone coach these young players. Obviously schematically,
yes,
but today Vic said he's been working with Jahad Campbell one-on-one, and then at practice you could see it. He's working with Jahad Campbell one-on-one. And that alone is worth the money the Eagles are paying Vic Fangio. To have Vic coach up Jahad Campbell one-on-one, there's not many coordinators in the league that have done this longer than Vic, that coach linebackers the way he does. So to have...
puts a premium on it.
Right. So to have Fangio be here and to help develop Jalen Carter is a massive deal outside of just the scheme part. It's worth the money for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, that's how great.
And he emphasizes practice. Yeah. That's the other thing. He will not
that's what I love. Yes.
Well, he said today, he was for those that say practice doesn't matter. I was
Did he look at you when he said that?
I was I am the one that keeps practice stats, to be fair.
Yeah. That's how great it was having Jim Johnson as a coach. And we talked about Vic Fangio leaving Miami and coming here. Well, Miami, he's dealing with a bunch of overpaid guys that are stars in the league already. A lot of them came there as mercenaries and got paid.
Jalen Ramsey.
And they didn't want to listen to the old guy who was coming in on one-year deal and changing up everything. You get a young group that doesn't have any type of entitlement to them.
Or a big contract.
Big contracts, and they want the big contracts.
Yep.
They want the big. And you see what he did last year? Boy, I guarantee they hang on to every word Vic Fangio says right now.
100%.
Because the proof is there. He just got Milton Williams paid. He got Zach Bond paid.
Josh Sweat.
Isaiah
Rodgers.
He came in here in 1 year and did that.
Yeah.
Well, the question about Jalen Carter and whether he reaches the ceiling that we know that he has is he committed to learning those things. Not just now after winning a Super Bowl and having success and being talked about as the best in the league. It's hard to hear that all day long and say to yourself, I still have work to do. Not only that, but then after he gets paid. It's after you get paid. And I'm not saying he's not. I'm saying that
many of them do, though.
Right.
They don't work as hard. So many of them do.
If you're Jalen Carter, you're going into this year knowing if you have a Pro Bowl year, you could legitimately get $150 million.
Oh, he sets the market
guaranteed next year. So now after that, that's a different discussion. Once you get paid,
somebody else will pass it because the Eagles aren't going to win.
Well, I just mean in a motivational standpoint. I can't imagine getting $150 million guaranteed and feeling the same way when I go to work. But now, there will never be a more important year of Jalen Carter's career than this one in terms of the output. Because if he has the year he's supposed to, he will get life-changing money 10 times over.
Second biggest thing you saw today, anything notable in terms of starters at different positions that we talked about last week?
Reed Blankenship was here today, which gave us a chance to look at what they're thinking at safety. So it was Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown was the other safety for pretty much all the first-team reps, from what I remember. So it seems like Sidney is the guy right there. Makuba was next up with the second team. Vic Fangio said a few times they're not going to make a decision on that until training camp's over and he gets all the preseason games. The other thing I would note, though, Tristan McCullum is a name people we need to talk about more. Vic Fangio brought this dude up twice unprompted today. He played him last year when Chauncey went down. We can like all the other guys, but Vic clearly has guys he likes, and Tristan McCullum is definitely one of them.
I hope he can play.
Vic seems to think he can.
You can't tell me one good play Tristan McCullum made last year. All we can say is Vic Fangio likes him.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying.
Can I say sometimes
I hope he makes plays.
He brought him up unprompted in the presser. Yeah.
Not that this isn't important to a team, But I think sometimes, I'm not saying that Vic Fangio is making a mistake with this, it's not what I'm saying. But I do think sometimes coaches like guys that do what they ask.
Yep.
And sometimes they will err to the side of somebody that does what they ask.
It's coachable.
Right. Over somebody that might be more talented or so on and so forth. And look,
ask Brace Huff.
well, yes, for sure. Yeah.
Brace is gone because of that.
Yeah. He did, actually. He was asked about Cooper DeJean. Jack, do we have that? Speaking of safety.
What are you looking to find out about Cooper as you're, trying him out at base, that corner in that plan right now?
With Cooper DeJean? We'd like to keep him at nickel. And then in our base package, we'll find a spot for him, either at corner or safety.
What do you like about the idea of Cooper at safety, and what will go into determining whether he plays at safety or the outside?
Well, I think he would play very well at safety. I think it suits his skill set, things that he does well. I just think he would do very well in there.
All right. So he's basically saying in base he's going to play safety.
Yeah, or at least that's where he thinks he will play.
Yeah.
And it'll be easier to take that guy off the field than I think it is Keeley or Adoree Jackson. Like Sidney Brown and Tristan McCullum, in my opinion, don't hold the same weight that Adoree Jackson and Keeley do.
What is
Keeley's been here for a few years. Adoree just got signed.
What is it about Kelee Ringo? I'm not just saying it's you.
Mm-hmm.
All the other writers love Kelee Ringo too. So, what is it about Kelee Ringo, who, by the way, when Darius Slay would go off the field last year, it wasn't Kelee Ringo, it was Isaiah Rodgers. So, why is Kelee Ringo more cemented, do you think, than anybody at safety is?
Well, I think Sidney Brown's barely played. He's been hurt, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Keeley doesn't play safety.
No, I'm saying I think Keeley and Adoree Jackson are harder to take off the field than Sidney Brown and Tristan McCullum.
Oh.
Because Sidney's barely played. Tristan McCullum, obviously Vic likes him, so there's that. But Adoree just signed here. Adoree has experience. I just think it's easier to take those guys off the field. Now, in terms of Keeley, I think the reason a lot of writers like him is because when you see him in person, he is very physically imposing. Out on the practice field,
he's a big corner.
He looks like a linebacker out there playing corner. Now, you're right. Whenever they took off Slay last year, or Slay came off for injury, it was not Keeley that went out there. So we talk about how much Vic likes Tristan. The vibe I get is it's the opposite way with Keeley. Now, he was out there with the starters today in 11-on-11. He was out there in base, in nickel on the outside. But I don't think he has a firm grasp on that job.
So, also speaking of safety, Vic was asked about the safety that isn't here anymore. He was asked about the safety that isn't here anymore. He was asked about the safety.
Wow, look at this.
Oh, that was a salary cap type thing. And
is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
There's more.
Is there?
Well, he said
so.
it's a salary cap thing and I was fine with it. Did we miss that part?
Oh, okay.
That's all I said.
Okay. About CJ.
Oh, I didn't hear the last part.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think Chauncey was viewed way higher outside the building than he was in. I mean, they've moved on from him twice. They traded him, obviously, coming off winning the Super Bowl. I know fans were really upset when Chauncey got traded, but I just don't think they think Chauncey's as good of a player as everyone else does.
It's interesting. A lot of it's interesting. He made my gut tells me that a lot of the big plays he made were him freestyling, and Vic doesn't like freestyling. That's sort of what my gut tells me.
A lot of teams have moved on from Chauncey for what it's worth.
Yeah, of
Chauncey,
course.
The Saints did, the Eagles did, then the Lions did, then the Eagles did again.
He's a lot to handle.
Yes.
But I agree with that, but I do think on the field, they just don't think he's as good as the outside does. People view him as a great safety. I don't think the Eagles thought he was a great safety. Otherwise, he'd be here.
The great part of it.
Good.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a damn good safety. You know that. I know it. Listen, we had Malcolm Jenkins here. Before we had Malcolm Jenkins, we had Brian Dawkins. Chauncey Gardner won a championship here and was a big part of it. He went to 2 Super Bowls. He was a big part of it. Hold on real quick. He had 6 interceptions in 2022. In about 10 games, he had 6 interceptions. How many do you have this year?
I think it's 5 or 6.
5 or 6 this year. Who the hell else is taking the ball away? I mean, I like Reed too.
Right.
But Reed catches more interceptions on overthrows.
Or underthrows, diving for him, yeah.
He's not really making plays out there. Like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has been one of our best secondary defenders here over the last 3 or 4 years.
So I agree with you on
they
that.
They better be right when they're moving on.
And he's an impactful player. I'll say that. I just think I don't think for Fangio seems to like guys that'll just do on the field what he says.
That's why I said he's a lot to handle.
And the tackling is not great from him. So
Well,
that's
that's
like
for sure,
an end
yes.
of the line or like a last line of defense. He's not the best safety to have there.
All right, coming up next, we will get Eliot's opinion on our topic for today about Saquon playing him
Where did CJ go?
Houston.
Oh, he went to Houston. Yeah.
But, well, good.
We'll talk about the Saquon thing, and also I have a bigger picture Eagles question that has been eating at me, and I read some more stuff that makes me eat at it even more. And then the Bryce Huff thing made me think about it even
I know
more.
exactly where you're going with this, and I disagree with you on it.
I actually don't think you know where I'm going.
I think I do.
All right.
Can we get there?
Why don't you relax in there?
Well, yeah, look
letting you
at him. Look at him, ready to fight for Howie.
Yeah. The worm texted me, ready to go.
Who texted you?
I said the worm as a joke. Yeah.
All right. That is coming up next. This is the WIP Afternoon Show with Ike, Spike, and Fritz.